Jungling.
Hi, Hyun here with League of Legends. Now you're gonna be saying wow every time you play this video game. Now look at this, I'm a blind monk. Once last, I'm farming.
Jungling can be frustrating at times since it is usually the most blamed role when something goes wrong. It is also unique because it does not involve laning and requires good decision making and timing to become effective. This role might be the most mentally taxing, but it is also rewarding because jungling has the biggest impact in the early game due to the ability to interfere with all of the lanes. If you can utilize this advantage to the fullest, then this can lead to early game wins for you and your team, which can lead to a victory.
So he's right. Basically, what I do when we set out, or when the game starts, I used to sneak into this bush right here and ward it, and then steal Gromp, and then possibly take blue if the bush isn't warded right here. But and if I'm really cocky, take this part of their dogs. But I don't actually do that anymore. I notice, a lot of people start doing the same thing. They start doing the, and I don't know if they're like trying to copy me or if it's just karma. I just on it personally, I think it's just the laws of physics. Like you act some type of way, those feelings are gonna reciprocate, and you're gonna see the same thing from other people. But not to get too deep talk on you. Now I just go here, and I usually bring a pink ward. I know they don't call it a pink ward; they call it a control ward now. But yeah, no, I've been playing League and Wild Rift since season two. But I'll put a control ward right here for the duo. Um, and if it's top, I'll give them a ward as well. I usually start right here. Um, I don't get on people too much for warding my blue because I never really find myself in need of too much mana. Um, a lot of the champions are self-sufficient when it comes to spending mana. So I start here and you know, just keep a close eye on all the lanes, especially the first lane right here, the duo, or if it's top. I'll start farming these golems, and if I see that they're getting pushed back towards their turret, then I might just skip out on the two cheaper golems that you finish off, and then just head straight to the lane and try and get that gank because timing is everything when it comes to jungling. And if you're a jungler, you know this already. So and it's not easy, uh, putting your priorities aside in the heat of the moment for the greater picture, which would be getting that gank on time and starting off your duo with a good start. And usually if your duo gets fed right from the get go, you guys just snowball the entire game, which is usually the case. Um, but yeah, so start here, and then I'll hit red, and then I'll hit the birds, and then I'll check on mid, and if I see that they're being pushed, I might just skip out on the birds and come up through here, or I'll stand right behind here, so they, in case this bush is warded, I'll stand right here because nobody can see you unless they usually don't ward right here, but sometimes they do. Um, or I'll come up through here, or I'll just come up through the top. If they're really like pushing my mid turret, I'll come up to the top and try to get behind them as much as I can, and then sometimes I won't even ping. Sometimes it's better to not ping. Like silent killer is golden. So but I don't always implement that strategy. It's just sometimes I feel like it's better to keep quiet, you know, and not let anybody know that I'm coming so that I can get that gank off. And then other times I'm like, hey, you got to let them know because people are really emotional, and this is a very detail oriented game, and you know, I can't imagine how many things people notice when they play these games, like when they play this game specifically, like every little detail. So you gotta, you really gotta be on your toes, um, and be mindful of how people are acting, even before the game starts. In lobby, those getting those counter picks, and trading when someone wants to trade, or or knowing when not to. All those things matter. Um, but yeah, and then if mid's not pushed, then I'll come up through here, or sometimes I'll just come up through here and I'll slide through the top, hit those dogs, then blue, then grump, and then same deal. I'll look over here to see if their lane is being pushed, and it always helps. It seems it helps a lot if I'm in the middle of taking a grump, or if I just started and it looks like I need to go up there, I'll just ignore that completely and go straight up here and catch that gank, because like I said before, timing's everything, and you have to know when to say no. And that happens a lot for me. I come out on top when I do that. And then, by the time you get here, I know people advocate for scuttles. Honestly, I couldn't tell you about the gold. I just vacuum it all up, dude, and I get rich quick. But as far as like how much they're worth, I don't know. I don't know anymore. They're always changing things in this game. But after that, I'll come up here and I'll get a sneak peek to see if they had already got the scuttle, and if not, I'll try and grab that, and then I'll go back to base. And by the time you get back there, um, this these golems will already be coming back, or they should already be back up. So I'll come back here, and it's repetition. You do the same thing, and after dragon and whatever that's called, the ensemble. Um, Things get a little wishy-washy. You get mixed up. You might end up doing it the exact opposite way. You start up here and then work your way back across the map, just as fluid, just as consistent. Um, but yeah, as far as objectives, definitely strive for dragon. I want to say always strive for dragon first, if you can, go up and get the ensemble immediately afterwards. Don't even recall. As soon as you get dragged, go straight to the ensemble, and you want to try and get your teammates to help you, and they usually don't. Not the ensemble. Most of the time, we'll say 50-50 drags a green light, but the ensemble, most of the time, most of you can agree with me on this. Not everybody shows up for it, but you want to try and raise the morale. Get in contact with who you're playing with, because one kink in the chain now, and you know how it goes. You guys all fall down. So try to keep that positivity high, and strive for it as soon as possible. Don't even recall. Go straight to it. And once you get those, or once they're out of the way, recall. Go back to doing the same thing. What else? We'll talk about items here in a second. I want to see what
for
else
you
is
and
on
your
here.
team, which can lead to a victory. This guide will help you learn about the jungle fundamentals to become as effective and efficient as possible. We will be covering beginner jungle champions, pathing, ganking, and key objectives on how to win as a jungler. Without further ado, let's get into it. If you are a beginner and do not know what champion to use, there are three types of junglers in the game, and I will be explaining each one. The first are the scaling junglers. If you like big damage and want to carry the team, then this is for you. The
So the thing about jungler picks is, like I was saying before, like people are really touchy. Almost every lobby you end up in, there's always going to be that one person that's not going to be okay with what you're doing. So you really gotta adjust and adapt over time. You gotta realize like that. That's just what it is. And so if somebody gets upset about you picking a specific champion, then don't pick that champion anymore because that's gonna set them off, and before you know it, you're gonna be losing before you're 5 minutes in. So you got to be wary of those things. But I guess that's just a random cue, so to speak. Now, if you got an actual team of people that you know and you play with, and everything is copacetic, and they're cool with it, I don't see a problem with it. Like I've seen people who go tank and build damage, and they snowball the entire game. And vice versa, people go damage dealer and build tank, and then they'll still snowball all game. But there's there's things to that there's exceptions and then there's not exceptions, like, and it's not just people being upset about the pick. It's the getting fed from the get-go is what really makes the difference on those kind of builds. If like, and if you go damage dealer and you're building tank, like your kit is designed to do damage. You're not going to really be an effective player throughout the game unless you get fed from the get go. Then yeah, you might just end up snowballing the entire match, but um, you'd have to get fed from the get go. That almost all cases, that scenario is exactly how that plays out. Now, key items. There's key items like thorn mail. Um, well, yeah, we'll go back to exceptions. So like thorn mail is a key item. Um, Blade of the Ruined King. There's certain key items you can build um, that will still help you and your team prevail in team fights, even if you're behind on gold. If your whole team's behind on gold, if you're underfed, you can still hold your own in a fight if you know how to build accordingly. So like if the enemy team has all damage dealers, or if the enemy team's damage dealers are the only ones that are fed, and you build and you're underfed, but you decide to build a thorn mail, you're gonna hold your own in that fight because you built thorn mail early. You saw that they were getting fed, and that's exactly what counters you know a fed AD damage dealer. And so it's good to get those things out before they get out of hand. And that's a way that I counter in battles.
Advantages of this type of jungler is that they usually deal the highest damage in the team. They also have the biggest potential to 1v9 the game due to their carry nature. When it comes to the disadvantages, one thing is that they require a lot of resources before being able to carry. This means that their early game is also weaker than the other types of junglers. They are also generally squishy and can easily get bursted with bad positioning.
Okay, so yes, yes, Master Yi, perfect example. Um, there were certain items that I would build on him, key items um, that were meant, I believe personally, were meant for his kit. But not everybody agreed with those items, and not those items in particular, but the order in which I built them. And it ticks some people off. Like they'll be like, oh, you built this, like that's not effective, and it hits hard for some people. But you gotta take it with a grain of salt, and look inwards and realize, like, we're not always right. They might actually be right. And I've been stubborn to the point where I'm just like, whatever, like that guy doesn't know what he's talking about. But it's really good to be mindful, even if they're not being nice about it, which people usually aren't. um, you still should take what others say into consideration, granted you don't already have them all muted. Um, and that's another good thing. I mean, if you get into some lobbies and people are being toxic, you can't mute them in the lobby, but just don't say anything. Like try to be cool. Um, and if someone starts going off in game, just mute everybody. That usually helps me a lot. Um, and keep your head on straight.
Beginner carry junglers that I would recommend would be Master Yi and Shyvana. The next type are the tank junglers. As the name suggests, these are the champions with the most durability. The advantages are that they could soak a lot of damage for your team. They are also gold efficient, meaning that they don't need a lot of items to become effective. Lastly, they generally have strong engage, which can translate to a winning teamfight. The disadvantage is that they get outscaled and don't deal as much damage when it comes to the late game, and they are not as effective if your carries are not dealing damage. Examples of tank junglers that are beginner friendly would be Amumu and Ramos. Then we go to the last type, which are the bruiser junglers. These types of junglers are in between the carries and tanks, in which they would be able to deal damage and tank at the same time. The advantages of this type is that they are the jack of all trades, which means that they can damage, engage, and tank all at the same time, which makes them strong throughout the entire game. They are also the best type of gankers due to this nature. The disadvantage of bruiser junglers is that they don't have a specialty, meaning that they can easily get outscaled by the carry and tank junglers, especially if they are put behind. Beginner bruiser junglers to try this playstyle are Vi and Xin Zhao. With all of that explained, you could try all the champions that were listed to check which suits your playstyle best.
I usually play a lot of Ramus. He's an amazing tank, especially when you're playing against AD damage dealers. I play a lot of Master Yi. His build, I'd like to tell you how I build him because it's just insane. I literally ban him every game because he's just retarded. He's perma banned in my book every damn day, like since the beginning of League. Um, Vi sometimes. I mean, if someone else on the other team gets Ramus, I usually try to strive for Vi because she's an armor breaker, and I think she counters him. Yeah, I don't play too much of the other one. I play some Shyvana. I've got some Shyvana, and she's a beast. Like if you get fed with her, and she can farm the jungle pretty quick. You get fed with her, like dude, you know how to build her. Forget it, bro. It's over, bro. Let me show you. Oh, I was gonna tell you about the warding strategy. So like, you know how there's like a little bush right here and right here, like right in the middle of the river, that little solo bush people like to ward sometimes. So like, if you are taking scuttle, you can actually like just hide in that bush and go around in a circle to keep it from exiting the bush so that you and the scuttle are out of sight. I usually try to do that when I can. I like to ward the enemy bush right here too with a control ward. I usually try to get one there. Um, I usually try to get a control ward in our bush right here. Um, where else? So like when and if the bushes spawn around dragon, you can actually get dragon to follow you outside. Well, almost like right at the brim, right at the edge of its circle, its vicinity, and you can just hang out in the bush and still like fight the dragon, like unseen. And I usually try to do that as well. What else was I gonna say? Oh yeah, so like sometimes it's not the bushes, sometimes it's the rock that shows up. There's like a rock that shows up. You can get that drag to actually go behind the rock without leaving its vicinity, and you can attack it right there. So if there's an enemy ward in here, or if they ward and you're already over there, they won't see you. They'll be like, "Where's drag?" So that's another good strategy to keep in mind. Um, Taking turrets is pretty big. So I mean, like that's why I can't stress enough. Like right after first drag, go straight to ensemble. Um, see if I got anything else later. Let's see.
Best as a jungler. In my own opinion, the current meta favors the bruiser junglers because they can adapt to any situation no matter what composition your team picks. After picking a champion and loading into the game, the next would be all about jungle routes and pathing. Basically, your jungle route would most likely start either at the blue buff or Krugs. This would depend on many factors such as what champion being used, lane to gank, and what is the priority objective, which will all be discussed later. The default jungle route that is used majority of the games is blue start into a full clear. This involves starting at the blue, Gromp, Wolves, Raptors, Red, Krugs into Scuttle.
Hmm.
If the Scuttle is hard to contest or taken, immediately recall and take the other Scuttle. This is your bread and butter route that can be used by any champion and my recommendation especially for beginner junglers. The reason why this is the default pathing is because it has the most efficient clear and getting the red later allows it to stay longer for stronger ganks in combination with your ultimate.
I didn't
Another
know.
common jungle route is the red start 4 camp scuttle clear. This involves starting at Krugs, red, Raptors, blue, scuttle.
Step back, back it up. Back it up, back it up.
This is a bit more offensive since starting at the red side allows for earlier ganks and is recommended for junglers who are strong at level 3. After taking the crab, you could look to gank top, mid, or even invade if they are playing a scaling jungler. If none of these options are available, the last resort is to just go back and clear your own camps. Always look for a possible gank while clearing the jungle. These two are the fundamental types of pathing that are needed to know. All the other ways of pathing are a lot riskier, for example, the level 1 Raptor Invade. To prevent these types of cheese, there's something junglers do at the start of the game, which is to immediately run to the opposite side of where you are starting, ward the bush, then recall and switch to your red trinket. That way, if the opponent invades the opposite side, you can react quickly by invading their side of the jungle after the buff to even up the trade. In conjunction with pathing, another key fundamental that is needed as a jungler is how to gank efficiently.
So about ganking efficiently, you get these guys like you see how they're panicking right now. Like one of them's at least almost dead, and whoever that is, they don't look like they're ready to engage at all. Or maybe they are, but they're out here. They should be under turret, or maybe they're about to be. But you see this little plant right here? Yeah, it drops health. I usually try to get that. I usually try to like take their plant because the last thing you want is the enemy to be able to heal without going back to fountain because then they can keep farming. And if they got a consistent amount of revenue coming in because they can keep healing with this whatever the hell that's called again, I forgot. They'll just say herb. Uh, well then your that lane is gonna start losing. So I always advocate to get those out or try to steal them, or I'll come back here and you can actually hit this and without being hit by their turret and pop it. But if you want to actually like eat them all three of them, you're gonna get hit by a turret at least once. But I mean, you're getting health, so you might as well eat them, right? I mean, granted, the situation is under control. Now, if you think you're not gonna be able to eat them, just don't even bother. But that's another strategy I try to implement. Um, taking their herb health things here, and yeah.
Having successful ganks is more important than perfect pathing because not only does your team get golden experience, you can also deny these two assets from the opponent plus mental damage, which is really important in solo queue. There are 3 ways to
Another thing is there's a strategy that I learned in the PC version of League, and it's called freezing the lane. And so basically, when you see these minions coming in, and you don't, you want to last. They call it last hitting, and you last hit them because if you just keep attacking and attacking, spam attacking, your lane's gonna it's gonna start pushing, and it's gonna end up here where it's more of a risk and danger for you and your teammates right here than it is back here. So once they get to this position, you really want to just start last hitting. Or like if there's no minions coming up to stop this wave, I usually try to run over here to the side and like let them attack me, or if I have a shield, pop that obviously, and let them just hang out right here until your next wave shows up, and now you have your lane frozen right here. There was another thing. What was I gonna say? But yeah.
Gank. The first is going for overextended lanes. Making a line in the middle of the map, all the enemy icons that are crossing on the other side means that they are extended, which makes them susceptible to ganks and vice versa. The second way to gank is to go for lanes that have no dashes and summoner spells. The less ways they are able to escape, the higher the chance of getting a kill. Don't be afraid to punish them as much as possible, especially if they don't know how to play safe. The third way of ganking is tower diving. This is ideal when your laner built up a big wave, pushing onto the enemy tower, and the opposing laner has low HP. Best case scenario, you get the kill, plates, and deny all of the golden XP that the enemy can get. If they are able to escape, it is still a good play since they cannot farm, making it a win-win situation.
All right. Here's another tip. Um,
Just be careful.
Most of you might already know what this is. It's in the strategy gamers. They call it stutter stepping. So when you say you're attacking this minion right here, you know, basic attack, hit it once, and then keep moving in one direction. And then when you know your attack's about to be up again, according to your current attack speed, then you stop and then basic attack again, and then keep moving in a certain direction, but still doing your auto. So you're controlling the flow of the battle and the outcome by stutter stepping.
For any outplay or counter gank because this is also the riskiest way to gank since you are diving under the tower. The worst time to gank is when the opposing team has built up a big wave, full HP, and no information where the enemy jungle might be. One more important factor a jungler needs to know is win conditions. Once all the picks are done, you should already be analyzing the best lanes to gank and what needs to happen to win the game, which is a case-to-case basis. For example, tank junglers need to help their carries to get ahead of the matchup and then just peel for them during the fights. If your carries are not fed, then it is better to just go for the enemy carry and prevent them from joining the fight.
So the way I deal with that is
Lastly,
by the time we'll say, I don't know, 5 minutes in, there's gonna be some most likely there's gonna be some kills, and we'll say our bot is fine, right? Bot is fine. They're winning their lane. Mid is fine. They're not being pushed, they're winning their lane. But solo lane is no good. And they actually have like 0 kills and 7 deaths, right? So what I would do is just not worry about these two because they're fine, right? Go and help your solo out if they're behind. Otherwise, it's just going to get worse. And if they're already too upset and they're still playing and they start pinging you like they don't want you to help, just leave them alone. Go help the other people that are already fed and help them get more fed. And that's how I usually go about that.
let's talk about counter ganking and invading. This is everything that I discussed, but the other way around. If you see your teammate with low HP under the tower, chances are that the enemy jungler will go for a tower dive and that is the best time to help cover for your lane. The key to this concept is knowing where the enemy jungler might be and having the appropriate reaction to their play. And there you have it. These are the basic fundamentals every jungler needs to have. If you have any other tips and tricks to share, especially to beginner junglers, feel free to comment down below. If you enjoyed the video, kindly subscribe to the channel for more jungle tutorials. Hope you learned.
I'll hit a like. I'll hit a like on your video, bro. So another thing with the wards, you know how the enemy has a wall right here and that little opening they can go through right here. So there's like just behind that opening, there's a very small window where the turrets can't they don't have a radius on, you can put a ward right there and it'll be good unless they hit that scryer bloom or whatever that is. I think it's right there. Unless you can get it out of the way, they won't be able to see it. But you can put a ward right there, and they won't be able to take it off immediately. And you'll have uh, intel on whether they're going this way or that way. Same for the other side. And then they got a little bush right here that's closest. I try to ward that bush a lot too. Um, that one, the enemy's bush right here. Yeah, I usually try to put a control ward right there. Sometimes bushes show up in here, and like right here, sometimes the bushes spawn. I really like putting a control ward in that bush right there when they do spawn. Um, and I think that's all I got. I'm sure there's more, but I can't think of it right now. But I hope you got something out of that, and happy hunting.
Learned a thing or two. That is it for me, and peace out. Ciao, ciao. Bye.